Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is David Holliday. I'm the Vice President of the National Student Exchange. I'm also an NSE coordinator at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. And today's webinar topic is advising prospective NSE students. The NSE program really does require coordinators to actively be involved in the advising of students. There are some confusing details of NSE and some options and choices they have to make. And so you are the NSE expert on your campus. Whether you're a veteran or brand new person, you're the expert that needs to help support them. So hopefully this webinar will help you. So today's webinar is going to focus on these areas. Number one, knowing your applicant. That should be a two. I don't know why those switched all to ones. Knowing your NSE, the NSE campuses, and knowing your NSE.org resources. So I'll be focusing on these three areas today. First of all, about knowing your applicant. I really love, one of my greatest joys is sitting down with students as they're exploring NSE. And so asking open-ended questions. What do you hope to get out of NSE? Where are you from? What are your identities or interests or goals or things that you want to accomplish? What are your career goals? Some students will come in with really concrete ideas of where they want to go and why, but many don't actually. So asking some of these open-ended questions can really open up the conversation. Next, there is some academic information you generally want to ask the student about. What are their course needs? What is their major, of course? What year are they? What's their GPA? And asking if they've talked to their academic advisor. We'll talk more about that here in a bit. And lastly, financially. You never want to get too far into students' financial business, but asking them, do you receive financial aid and scholarships? Another question regarding housing is, where do you live now? Do you want to live on or off campus when you do NSE? Because that's a decision and a conversation to have. And do you need to work? One thing I've really been highlighting with NSE the last couple of years is because we are a primarily domestic program, other than Canada and the US, students can work on college while they're on exchange. The majority of college students these days actually do have a job, and so they can still have a job while they're studying away through NSE, not worrying about work permits and things like that, unless they're going to Canada or into the US. So knowing your NSE resources, we've just revamped the NSE website. We presented on that last week, and hopefully you've had a chance to explore the website. Under the Explore Campuses heading there are campus profiles. You'll notice brand new, actually as of yesterday, there's a chance of acceptance page like we used to have. There's also a brand new programs of study search, so students can search for their major or minor or another academic area they're looking for. Special programs, etc., are listed on that tab. Next, there's a How It Works tab, which is pretty similar to what we had on the old website. It outlines general information about eligibility, tuition and fees, financial aid, etc. And there's a Next Steps tab. This is a new one, actually. So it does give students tips on research, on the application process, placement, after placement, and during exchange. So explore these things yourself, but also encourage your students to explore them. Learning about NSE with your students. One of my greatest joys, again, is meeting with a student and learning about their interests, but also what campuses may be the best fit for them. Now, I'm an old veteran here with NSE. I have a lot of experience firsthand and secondhand with a lot of your campuses, so I can lean onto that. And I realize most of you don't have that. So this is a chance for you to have fun guiding the student maybe through the process and learning more about NSE yourself as well. So explore those campus profiles together during a student appointment. I do most of my student advising on Zoom. It's really nice to be able to share the screen and go over that with students. You should view the campus websites and the course catalogs. Those are all linked from the campus profiles on the NSE website. If you have NSE, an active NSE alumni group, engage them in the process. Ask them for input, ask them for assistance with advising or recruitment. Also make sure you're collecting surveys and evaluations and reviews from those students. Follow other NSE campuses and or those coordinators on social media. Some of you out there I'm great friends with through social media, especially, and plus our annual gatherings together. So following each other and also following each other's campuses can be really interesting and a great way to learn about where your student might be going. And if you can't find what you're looking for on the NSE website, You are welcome to email the coordinator or email the listserv. The NSE coordinators communicate with each other, especially when there are questions or information that you cannot find. So please don't hesitate to lean on each other or lean on the listserv, the collective group, if you have questions or you need help kind of guiding a student in a particular direction. Okay, we start here with academics. First of all, when you're looking at the academics tab, the campus profiles, academics tab is the very first one. So NSE, it is important to remind yourselves and your students that NSE is an academic exchange program. It should open doors to experiences and courses and internships and things that they may not have available to them on their home campus. And we can accommodate nearly all majors and minors. We're not dealing with different accreditations and complicated academic calendars and things like that. And so NSE can be a great academic opportunity for your students. So your goal is to assist students in finding a campus that will enhance their college experience and potentially find those experiences or courses that they need to graduate. Um, Specifically, that might be courses. So you have a chance to get a sense of what classes they hope to take through conversation. You should ask them if they're looking for major or minor courses, gen eds or electives. Really, it is important from the start with students, stress that course flexibility is important. Um, Although I have had students with majors that are complex and very sequential, and a lot of majors that don't work with study abroad still work with NSE. So be creative and encourage the student to be too. Work with the department that maybe seem to have barriers and find that particular sweet spot or maybe a specific term that would work really well for any student from your campus to participate in the program. On the NSE website, there are some great resources for you to use. Just last Friday, as I mentioned, we added a programs of study search page for students. You can find that under Explore Campuses on the main navigation bar. There you can type in the name of a major or a minor or area of study, and you're going to see all the campuses that offer that particular area. Um, on the campus profiles, so once you've dug in and started looking at particular campus profiles, you should utilize the information that's on the academic tab. So first of all, there's a link to the course catalog. That's a great place to go and look at course descriptions and things like that. You'll also see a schedule of classes. Now, for some campuses, this is not too useful, but for many, if the schedule of classes is open to the public, it's really beneficial to see which classes are offered during a particular term, maybe the current term or the past term or the upcoming term. It's a really helpful tool. We do have a new link to the major minor website page of each campus. We also have asked campuses to indicate registration timing. When do NSE students register? And that's really helpful in advising your students as well. If you see after campus students, that really should be a clue to you and your student that some extra academic flexibility is required because that student would register last at that particular campus. You'll also see closed academic programs and limitations or restrictions on each campus as well. So your students really want to pay close attention to that if it's going to affect the courses that they want to take. You want to see that up front. You'll also see if honors is available at that particular school. And you'll also see the list of majors available to NSE students at that campus. So a lot of great information for you and your students to look at. Back to the flexibility, it is important to stress that course access cannot be guaranteed through NSE. Some classes may fill up before the student registers, or they could be canceled. That happens all the time on our campuses. Some classes aren't offered every term, maybe it's every other year or something like that. Always, the student needs to meet the prerequisites for certain courses, upper division courses especially. So as you're having conversations with students, stress that flexibility. That may mean they need to adjust their academic calendar back home, maybe the semester before or the semester after, to create that flexibility when they do NSE. So encourage students to have 4 first choice classes that they're interested in taking, and then have at least that many backup options that they're willing to take on exchange. I personally always recommend that my student goes and talks to their academic advisor before they apply to NSE. I don't require it. I know some campuses require students to meet with their advisor. I don't require it, but that is entirely up to you. These are the questions that I encourage students to have with their academic advisor, the conversation. Um, First of all, is NSE a good fit for me? And if so, when should I go? Is there a particular time in my major where I have flexibility? Where should I go? The advisor might be able to make recommendations based on where previous students have gone, where their department endorses the courses or the faculty or something like that. So advisors can help with that. Advisors can help students identify what classes should they take, again, with some backup options as well. And then also talking about special considerations. Do they have to look at accreditation for, business courses or engineering courses or things like that? So those are conversations to have with the advisors. Um, you should also discuss with students the credit approval process. And this is something you should discuss with students, but oftentimes it involves the department as well. Um, so explain how the course approval process works on your campus, who leads that process, who's involved in the process. On my campus, it's the admissions office that handles transfer credit evaluation. And we have a database called Transferology where all of the approved transfer credits can already be found. But talking this over, oftentimes academic advisors are involved in the department specifically. So students can ask the department, is course pre-approval a possibility? Can I identify courses there that I want to take and share course descriptions? And is that enough to have courses evaluated? Oftentimes it is. On my campus, many departments will just approve a course based on that course description. Now, sometimes some departments are going to say we need to see a syllabus in order to evaluate the course. I strongly recommend holding off on that process of requesting syllabi and things like that until after the placement occurs, because it does create a lot of extra work, both for you, for the student, and for that host campus. And we really want to minimize the extra work at this point. So get the student placed there and then start having the conversations about syllabi and things like that to get those requested. Accommodations is mentioned here as well. I always bring this up early on when I'm meeting with students. Might they require any sort of special accommodations at that school? And if they say yes, make sure they know they need to connect with the accommodations office, disability ability services office at that host campus to make that connection early on to hopefully have those accommodations in place by the time they go. Okay, so advising on academics. On the application, which is a brand new thing, of course, students will list their major. There's a spot for a second major as well. They can list a minor and a second minor as well. They're also asked to check this box to indicate that they understand that NSE course access cannot be guaranteed. I've read the academics tab of the campus profile regarding limited and closed programs. I understand course access is based on course offerings, availability, and prerequisites. So again, early on, even in the application process, we really are stressing this. Students need to know that they need to be flexible with courses. So there is then a question to better understand your course preferences while on exchange, please select one. And so students will be able to select from I have course flexibility, which we hope most students do, or there are specific courses that I need to take. Um, and if they mark that, they actually are able to add up to 4 courses that will actually appear on their application. And these are courses that they're telling that host campus, I really need to take these 4 courses in order to come to your campus on exchange. That'll be helpful information for that host campus if they're making decisions on acceptance. That's a new part of the application for all of you. Okay, talked about courses and academics. Next up are advising on eligibility and conditions. So it is your job as coordinator to make sure students are eligible for NSE. NSE's eligibility requirements are listed right here. It's a relatively long list, about 10 items. The main ones are degree seeking undergrad, completion of 1 year before they go on exchange, full-time enrollment, minimum GPA of 2.5, etc. So it's your job, again, to make sure your students are eligible for NSE. In addition to NSE's eligibility requirements, some campuses have their own requirements or conditions or even preferences. The campus-specific eligibility requirements and preferences can be found on the Conditions tab of each campus profile. Um, Sometimes you'll see a higher GPA is required. I've seen 2.75, I've seen 3.0. I think there might be a couple of 3.25s in there as well. Um, so paying attention to that. There's also a statement about in-state or territory or province exchange. There are some schools that do not accept students from their own state or province or territory. We typically want students to go a little bit further away. You'll find exchange preferences. Some schools may have a preference for full year exchange or single term exchange. You'll see whether or not that campus is available for summer only exchange. There's also information relevant to Canadian students, whether that US campus can accept them or not. And similarly with international students, those already in the US on an F1 or J1 visa, those students can, availability of that campus is indicated there as well. And it is important to note language proficiency for students wanting to go to Quebec or Puerto Rico is typically expected. And I know Quebec has a couple of English or French as a second language program where proficiency is not required. But that's also one of the conditions to make sure your students fulfill. Okay, a big one here now to talk about tuition and finance. So, NSE utilizes two payment plans. Hopefully, all of you are aware of these. We offer home pay. That means the student will continue to pay tuition and fees to their home campus. And we offer away pay. Please be aware of this terminology change away from host payments to away pay. We have reasons for that, just so you know. Away pay means the student pays resident rate in-state tuition and fees to their host campus. Those rates are listed on the NSE website, so students can actually see what they would be paying. But that is a main benefit of NSE. The reciprocity agreement between all NSE campuses guarantees a student accepted on away pay qualifies for resident rate tuition to that campus. We currently have 62 campuses that are home pay only. You only send and receive students on home pay. We have 3 campuses that are away pay only. These are inbound only campuses that only accept students on away pay. And then we have about 105 campuses, including my own, that do operate on both payment plans. It's essential, especially for these campuses, to really understand how to advise students. Ultimately, it is up to you, the home campus coordinator, to determine which payment plan or plans they can send students on. Some may choose the cheapest option for the student. That's a nice thing. Others will prioritize home pay. That's what I do because the tuition dollars stay back home at the home campus. And then sometimes a student's financial aid, specifically state aid or institutional aid, may be a factor as well. But the chance of placement under one or the other tuition payment plan may be a factor as well. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Okay, to dig into home pay a little bit. Home pay, again, means the student pays regular tuition and fees to their home campus. That the availability of home pay, home tuition payment is marked on each campus profile on the Tuition and Finances tab. And it's helpful to know who typically chooses home pay. So of course, students coming from or going to home pay only campuses, they are going to select home pay. Students coming from lower cost campuses oftentimes will only want to do home pay because their tuition is cheaper than if they were to go away on away pay. Students with significant state or institutional aid that might not be portable on away pay will oftentimes choose home pay. And looking at this current year, actually, 55% of students were placed on home pay. So the majority of our students do choose and are placed on home pay. So hopefully this is helpful again for those of you that are coming from home or away campuses in helping students determine if home pay is the best option for them. Now let's talk about the other option, away pay. This means students pay resident rate tuition and fees to the host campus. The availability of away pay is indicated on the campus profile right here, available. as well as the estimated costs. So the resident rate tuition at that host campus is posted right there on the campus profile. So who chooses away pay? Again, remember, it's your choice. It's the coordinator's choice because you're the one that's nominating a student for exchange. But when you're advising a student or maybe helping figure out what might be the best option, um, of course, students applying to away pay only campuses, that's the only option that they'll have. Students applying to campuses where home pay is limited or most competitive. We do have a handful of campuses where getting a spot on home pay is pretty difficult, under 25%, sometimes under 10% chance of acceptance. So that may be a reason a student would opt for away pay. Students who rely less on state or institutional aid or federal aid for that matter, it's because those aid might not be affordable on away pay. And this current academic year, about 45% of our students are participating on away pay. So lots of students are doing it, but a smaller percentage than are on home pay. Okay, so on the application, if you're at a campus that offers both tuition plans, home and away, this is what your student's application will look like. They will be able to select from these options: home pay only, prefer home pay, away pay only, prefer away pay, or either. So it is up to you. The student will select this on the application that comes to you, but you'll have the chance to discuss this with the student and actually make edits if necessary. This is an important advising point, helping students choose the right tuition plan for them. Now, if you're from a home pay only campus, the application is smart. It's smart enough that your student is only going to see home pay as an option on the application. So there is not a choice to make in that matter. And then if your student is applying to an away pay only campus, that is the only option they will see: away pay only. Okay, other money matters, other costs. Also on the tuition and finance tab, you will see extra costs, other things that students need to be responsible for. So you as the coordinator, you need to make sure students are adequately prepared financially for this experience. So in this, I did the screenshot here from a campus profile. You'll see a place for miscellaneous fees. So some of our campuses have mandatory fees or optional fees that we want to make sure students are aware of. We never want students to be surprised by a fee. Some of these fees are assessed to the student ahead of time. Something like a housing fee, which is probably a deposit, is likely to be collected in the months leading up to the exchange. Other fees are likely assessed once they arrive to campus. Things like a parking fee, probably collected once they get to campus. It's also important to remind students that there will be extra costs relating to course fees, books and materials, transportation to and from that school and around the location, and the miscellaneous campus fees that I've talked about. Some campuses will have an important notes section as well, where they outline some of the other fees and variables students should be aware of. So help students look through this. If there are questions or concerns, you as the home coordinator can reach out to that host coordinator for clarification. We really want to avoid surprises for students as much as possible, especially when it comes to financial matters. Okay, one slide on financial aid because it is a pretty straightforward process. Financial aid for NSE students, regardless of payment plan, is awarded by and dispersed from your home campus. Sharon at Queens, we have a conversation because my student applied for aid from Queens by mistake, because sometimes students get confused about that, but it's important. Tell students they should only apply for financial aid from their home campus. So FAFSA-based aid, federal aid, is available to NSE students. It's guaranteed on exchange on either home or away pay. That's a guarantee. Federal aid is transportable, except for college work study, CWS. That is not a form of aid that can apply through another campus. Determine if state and or institutional aid is available. That's an institutional decision, or maybe it's a statewide law. So that's an important decision or consideration to make and something to learn. My campus in Minnesota, we allow institutional aid as well as state aid to go with all NSC students, even if they're on away pay. So, but I know some campuses will restrict that. So make sure that you know and can advise students on that. Always refer your students to your financial aid office to verify their aid eligibility. And also remind them to use the host campus budget. This is a link. That campus budget is a hyperlink right there on the profile. That's where your financial aid office can see the actual costs at that other institution, the estimate for room and board and tuition if they're on away pay. And that's how the financial aid office can help students revise their COA, their cost of attendance. Okay, room and meals is another important advising point. So most NSE students live on campus. I think it's easiest and the best way to get integrated into the community. We have a few NSE campuses that require it, and we have a few that don't offer it. This is always listed on the campus profile, so this hyperlink here indicates, yes, on-campus living is required. Student needs to know that and be comfortable with that. You'll also see the average room cost, the estimate for one term of housing, and there's a link to the housing website. Similarly with meal plans, you'll see if meal plans are available or not, if they're required or not, as well as average costs of meal plans and a link to the campus website for meal plans. So it's all available for students to look at, and I always look it over with students to make sure they see it. So for room and meals, on the application, students will indicate I need on-campus housing, or I prefer on-campus, but I'm willing to live off, or I plan to live off campus. So this is an important point. When a student is filling out the application, they should not say I need on-campus housing if that school doesn't have it available. Or likewise, if they require on-campus housing, they should not select I plan to live off campus. That could be an issue with their final application. Chance of acceptance. This is one of the biggest points, and I know I'm at time. I tested this, and I think I'm talking a little bit slower. So, but I'm gonna keep going here. Chance of acceptance. So advising students on this is really an important coordinator role. All this information's on the website, and we hope that students can understand it. We have determined the chance of acceptance for each campus based on your set campus policy. Some of you are open campuses, some of you are even campuses, as well as your 5-year placement history. So we've actually set the chance of acceptance rate for all of you based on that information. We do this for transparency, as well as to help students on their campus selection process. We want them to know whether the school is going to be difficult to be placed at or not. So the terms you'll see are open, excellent, good, limited, most competitive, or closed. Open schools generally accept 100% of qualified students. Most competitive schools accept less than 25% of qualified students. So on the campus profile, this is a screenshot from the campus profiles. Students are told if this is your top choice campus, and if you select home tuition, it indicates this school is most competitive on home tuition, and it gives some advice here on selecting backup choices and things like that. Whereas if they're able and willing to do away pay, this school is open. The campus usually accepts all eligible applicants. Apply and start packing your bags. So identifying that first choice campus and the chance of acceptance is really important for you to do. Also on the campus profile, we also indicate the chance of acceptance if this is an alternate choice campus. So on the new NSE application, everybody has to select a first choice and a second choice campus. They can actually select up to 4 backup options, but we do require 1 alternate choice. So in this indicates if the student is selecting home tuition, home pay, that it is open, meaning they'll be accepted. And NA, this school does not operate under away tuition. So this is a great alternate choice campus because it is open. We always encourage all students to have at least 1 open school on their preferred tuition plan on their list. That will guarantee acceptance, and that's something that coordinators can really help students on. Okay, that's the end of the content. Now I just have some important reminders about save the dates, and these have come out to you several different times. Actually, no, this is a brand new one. We have just scheduled some drop-in advising for NSE students. They're meeting with me, actually. They have about 15-minute time slots on Zoom, and I'm going to put this link in the chat. Share this with your students. They are able to schedule an appointment directly with me. And so share that with your students. And we'll be sending that out to students as well. We also are doing drop-in advising for NSE coordinators right before priority placements. So on Thursday, February 26th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we'll be sharing the Zoom link. It's not a registration. It will be just an open Zoom link. So watch for that in your email. But that'll be a great chance for coordinators to connect with us and ask questions about finalizing applications and things like that. So that is the end of my presentation. I know I'm a couple of minutes over. I do want to stop my screen share, and I think I'll stop the recording as well, if I can find that. And we'll have a couple of minutes here for conversation if anybody has questions.
Yeah, there's some questions in the chat, David.
Okay. Um, Emily Mason, and I think you emailed me about this. I haven't responded yet. Yes, so NA for each category means they're not accepting students for the next academic year. It does not mean they're leaving the consortium, just means they're taking a break. And oftentimes that's because they have to come back into balance. They need to send out more students before they can start accepting more students coming in. Marge asks, students ask me how they can be more competitive to be selected for home pay. Is there a correct answer for this? So uh, the answer is no. There's not a way for students to be more competitive. Historically and moving forward as well, the placement process is relatively blind. Students' information and the full application is not available or visible to that host campus because we want the campus to make decisions that are equitable, considering all students. And so our home pay, our campuses that are limited on home pay, they have their own parameters for how they accept students. I know many of them will track where they've accepted students from in a previous year and try to rotate the acceptances from different campuses. So that's the best answer. Marge, you could always reach out to that campus and ask if there are if you want more information about that. But no, that's why we don't show students' GPAs. They don't have a statement of essay or anything like that. Um, Marika, did I understand that students need to have an alternate choice? They have to apply to at least two campuses. Yes. So the new application does require a first choice campus and an alternate choice campus. So help students with that. Yep, Dahlia is taken care of there. And then Raina, will a campus by category page from the old website be available on the new one? I use that often. So a brand new website is always a work in progress. We have a long list of things that we still plan to add. Just literally yesterday, we got that chance of acceptance page back up there. And so, Raina, I will say yes, there is plan to have much of the information that was found on that campus by category page on the new website. In the meantime, I'm going to follow up with all of you. You'll get a recording. The whole listserv will, but you'll get a recording of this session. And I've actually created some Google Docs that list a lot of those really important campus by category top items, like who is available for honors exchange, which campuses accept international F1 or J1 students, which campuses accept Canadian students. I have some of those just one pagers that I'll be sharing out with all of you. But yes, those will be on the website too.